Good morning, everybody, and welcome to TLC Live as every Wednesday at 11 in the morning. I learned from last week that you don't say like every Wednesday, you say as every Wednesday.
You can, but it's like every Wednesday. But it
Is
doesn't
as or
matter.
is as like or is
It's
like?
like every Wednesday.
Oh, you see, I got confused.
Yeah.
Okay, well, my classes is still. You get so busy and you travel all the time, so the classes is a little bit interrupted.
And speaking of traveling, I forgot to tell you that I've got to bail a little early today because I have a hospital board meeting.
No,
So
why you don't tell me in
I
advance?
know I should have, but it's only like the last 10 minutes, so you can handle it.
Okay, yeah, I can handle it
Yeah.
with our last
Yeah.
with our second
So
guest.
Mark's going to have to focus on you, which the entire world wants to see you anyway.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, no brain.
Yeah. No brainer.
No brainer.
Yeah. No. Anyway, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. We have an exciting program, but we also have some exciting programming news. We now are able to take your phone calls, your comments, or questions. Keep it clean and keep it on subject. If you want to dial in, the number is on the bottom left of the screen. It's 281 833 3333. So it's 281 833 3333. You'll call in, the producer will screen you, and then we'll put you on air. So,
And hopefully we can have phone calls because before we tried, but it was on video and people didn't want to be on camera.
right.
But today is just like you're calling to a radio show or something, so it's just the
Yeah,
voice.
people don't mind being on camera with me, an old bald headed guy, but they're always intimidated being on camera with you.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So it's still election season. We have Republican primary runoffs across the state of Texas. Not many, but some. And we're excited that we have Marc LaHood back, who made the runoff in Bexar County for district attorneys. So you
Correct.
want to reintroduce Marc so everybody knows who he is.
Yes, Marc LaHood is a candidate for the Republican nomination on the runoff for Bexar County District Attorney. And Marc was with us at the beginning of the year, and we are so excited to see that he made it for the runoff. So we are here to hear him how it's going to be the campaign from now till May 24, how we can help you, and how the community over there can help you, Marc.
And I'm also going to say that Marc is kind enough to have been a sponsor of the Tough Tejano luncheon at the Whitty Center in San Antonio on April 5th. And as everybody knows, we got a call last week from the governor of the great state of Texas, and he has decided to join us. So we're really looking forward to having Governor Abbott at the Tough Tejano Award luncheon April 5th. And Marc, you'll be there as well. We're looking forward to seeing you.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Buenos días, Marc, ¿cómo estás?
Muy bien. Muy bien. Thank you.
Muy bien.
So, Marc,
How y'all doing this morning?
good, good. Tell us about the race. What is the strategy to secure victory on what is it? May 24th is the runoff date. Is that right?
No, so there's no runoff. I won the primary outright, and so
Oh,
going
okay.
Oh,
forward, yeah.
okay. I
So
was
going forward,
I was told
oh, go on.
that you made it for the runoff, and that's
Well, then
why.
when we're going to change it to congratulations.
Yeah.
So we're proud
Thank
of
you.
you. So how many opponents did you have in the primary, Marc?
It was me and one other primary opponent. So it was me and an opponent by the name of Maria Chacon, a former prosecutor here in Bexar
Gotcha.
County.
Gotcha. So tell us, what's the strategy moving forward? What are the issues again that you're going to be arguing and trying to convince the voters of Bexar County and San Antonio why they should support you?
So, fortunately, our messaging doesn't change. We have focused from the very beginning on what matters to people here living here in Bexar County. It's, our faith, our family, and our safety and security of our community. Those are core conservative values, but those are core values that apply to everyone, man, woman, and child living in Bexar County. Uh, Bexar County is a Hispanic epicenter here in Texas. And for the last 2 months since we got in the race and going forward, we've been reaching out to people throughout the county, just talking about those three core things. Supporting the rule of law, supporting our law enforcement. Right now we have a war on our police officers. I'm sure you saw what happened in Austin, what happened here in Bexar County recently is, our DA's offices across the country are waging war against the men and women that are fighting to keep our community safe. And so we're just taking that message out. And so far, the reaction has been super positive. It's been a lot of excitement, a lot of enthusiasm. So, we're excited going forward.
Several years ago, George Soros made a substantial contribution to the district attorney, the Democrat liberal district attorney in Harris County. Has he been playing in your county? Has he been making contributions to candidates in your county?
He has. So the current DA, the incumbent that I'm fighting to remove from office, is a George Soros funded DA. I believe he gave him about $1 million in 2018. And, for Soros's intent, it was money well spent. Joe's first year in office, he stopped prosecuting heroin, meth, fentanyl, crack cocaine, quarter gram or less. Didn't matter what the facts were. It was getting dismissed. It was getting rejected. Drug charges, all types of cases have just been going out the window. So I guess he's gotten what he's wanted so far.
So you say a quarter ounce of meth or fentanyl. Explain to the viewers how deadly either one of those drugs are.
So it's an ounce of marijuana. It's a quarter gram of fentanyl. Fentanyl is one of the most deadly substances. Um, you know, I'm sure everyone's heard. A kilogram of fentanyl can kill 500,000 people. It's 2 milligrams can kill the average person, and so it is an extremely, extremely, extremely deadly substance. Out in Florida, I don't know if y'all heard, but some cadets that were on spring break didn't realize that they had ingested fentanyl, and I think 3 of them overdosed outright from using it, and then the 2 friends that were with them that were just trying to give them CPR overdosed just from giving them CPR from them. It's extremely dangerous.
Wow. Mark, I believe in Bexar County, you guys have the same problem that we have here in Harris County with the crime and everything that is going on that is getting out of control. So what is your plan to fight this situation and, of course, to get more support for the law enforcement?
Well, I mean, you've already hit the first part is we have to actually support our police. I mean, I've been saying it from day one. The actual police officers and the DA's office are 2 sides of the same coin, meaning that law enforcement officers, police agencies, police officers are the ones that investigate crime. They gather the evidence. They put together the packet that they turn over to the DA's office for the DA's office to prosecute. And so we have to be able to have a good working relationship, just aside from anything else. I mean, you have to be able to work with who you are in partnership with. And right now, we're not getting vocal support. We're not actively backing them up. So that's first and foremost. And the secondly is you have to be able to, the DA's office is no different than any other law firm. I mean, you have to be able to manage it properly. It has to be managed efficiently. There are cases being dismissed. There are weak pleas being given because they're mismanaged. You have people that don't know the type of law that they're prosecuting, and they don't know how to properly work them up. They're not communicating properly internally and with law enforcement. And we're seeing cases get dismissed left and right. We're seeing weak offers being given. I've said it before. I was set for trial a couple months ago, and I think there was 10 or 11 cases set for trial that day. Every single one of those cases, the DA's office filed not readies on. Half of those cases got dismissed. It's just ridiculous. You can't do your job right if you're doing it badly.
Is it one of the arguments that's being made, and let me just make a comment here, Mark, that there's a vast difference between urban areas of Texas and the crime and the approach to crime, as you mentioned, and rural Texas. We don't have these problems in rural Texas. In rural Texas, the sheriff's office works diligently with the local DA, and, people are held accountable when they're adjudicated. But in urban areas of Texas, they're using the excuse that the pandemic has created a backlog. What is the what's the management of the prosecution of criminal cases? How's that looking in Bexar County? Is it similar to Harris County?
Yeah, it is sadly. I think most metropolitan areas, their backlog has increased multiple fold. On paper, our backlog has a little more than doubled, but I've been telling people we haven't even found out what the real number is because of the thousands of cases that they have refused to accept. Like I said, a quarter gram or less of a penalty group one drug is being rejected or dismissed, and so those cases aren't part of the backlog because they're not even being handled. I mean, we don't even know yet how many more thousands of cases are actually should be included in that backlog but aren't there because they're just rejecting them outright. And so, I'm terrified to find what the real number is.
Mark, I wanted you share with our viewers, the ones that didn't tune on the last program that we had you, tell us about your background and why you decide to run for this position.
Thank you. Um, I'm born and raised.
Looks like we lost
We
Mark's audio.
lost his audio.
Mark, we lost your audio. So if
I don't know if he's
you
on
can,
mute or
yeah, he
he
might
needs
have
to
muted
call us
himself.
back.
Yeah. If you can log out and log back
Yeah.
in, we'll just bring you back. So yeah, I mean, what's happening around the state of Texas is that there has been a substantial influence by big money outside of the state of Texas, as happened in Harris County, where George Soros and other liberal organizations came in and basically started attacking the bail bond system, for example, in Harris County. We've talked about that a lot, where the commissioner's court in Harris County went far beyond the elements of the case brought before the federal court. And the elements of the original case said that misdemeanor defendants did not have an opportunity to explain to a magistrate or the court that they were indigent and they were being held in the county jail for minor crimes. So they were losing income, they were losing their jobs, they were separated from their family, and it just created a sort of a cascade of events for those indigent folks. I don't disagree with that. If it's a low-level crime, first-time offender, there's no problem doing a background check on them and releasing them on personal recognizance.
But I also think
but then the county went way beyond that and started applying that principle to repeat offenders and violent offenders. And so that's why we have the crime wave that we have in Harris County. I'm sure the same thing's happening in Bexar County.
we have Mark back, but before that, I want to remind you guys that today you can call us and talk to us. The number is 281-833-3333. Super easy. 281-833-3333. You can call us. It's gonna be like calling to a radio. It's no video. It's only your voice. So, Mark, let's refresh the question. So, tell us a little bit of your background and also why you decide to run for this position.
Thank you. Sorry about that. If it can go wrong, I guess it will. I feel like it's a Monday morning. Um, I'm born and raised here in San Antonio, Bexar County, Texas. I've been a criminal defense attorney for the last 15 years. Since I got a license, I've been a criminal defense attorney, and I've been a criminal defense trial lawyer. So I've been intimately familiar and experienced with what's going on, not only in Bexar County, but throughout the state. I got married back in 2017, and we have 4 children, 3 under 4. And the last 3 years, like I said, I think y'all had asked earlier, the current DA is a Soros-funded DA. In the last 3 years, I personally, we've all seen just how Bexar County's gone downhill. It's not getting safer; it's getting more dangerous, less secure. And I ultimately asked myself, this has happened in 3 years. What's going to happen in 8 years or 12 years? I mean, if we don't put a stop to it now, if we don't take back our county and our community and bring back some sanity and some law and order and some safety and security, if we don't act now, it's going to be too late. And so that's what got me off the sidelines and got me into the race. It was because I love Bexar County. I love my community. I love my family.
Mark, you've been in law enforcement, or at least an officer of the court for some time. So you've watched, both the prosecutorial and the defense side, and so I would consider you an expert in the criminal justice system. I want to ask you a question. From a public policy perspective, one of the issues that we have here in Houston, and I'm assuming the same thing happens in the city of San Antonio. Remember that there are basically two large law enforcement agencies in most counties in Texas, urban counties in Texas. For example, there's the SAPD, which is the San Antonio Police Department, and there's the Bexar County Sheriff's Office. Same thing in Harris County. We have the Harris County Sheriffs, and then we have the City of Houston Police Department. The City of Houston Police Department is woefully under pressure because of the financial situation in the City of Houston. And so we are short of police officers. I think we have one of the smallest ratios of police officers to citizens in the nation. And this is a massive city, 650 square miles, and we have about 5,000 police officers protecting. The consequence is calls for service are very slow. So when you call for a police officer, it's going to take, minutes, hours, and in a crisis situation, seconds count, not minutes, not hours. And so one of the issues, and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. I want to see what you think about this. In Harris County, for example, we have by the way, all peace officers in Texas are certified by a state agency that certifies police officers. They all go through a training that is, the protocols are the same. They get the same certification. So the reason I'm saying that is in the city of Houston, and I'm sure the same thing is in San Antonio, we have the Metropolitan Transit Authority Police. We have the universities have police. We have constables that are police. We have the Houston Independent School District that have police. We have the City of Houston Police Department. We have several enclaves that have police departments. And then you have the Harris County Sheriff's Office. And then you have the Port of Houston Police Department. You have the Medical Center Police Department. And so they're all certified police officers. We have more police officers than Heinz has pickles in our county. And yet the response rates are down. So let me ask you a question. If crime is out of control in the city of Houston and in San Antonio, why can't we do a mutual aid agreement between the city and the county where if there's a sheriff nearby and can be dispatched faster than a police officer, why don't we have these mutual aid agreements to help combat crime? I think we lost your audio again, Mark.
Yeah, we lost him for a second. He'll be right back.
Okay.
We lost him, yeah.
All right.
Okay, well...
as he said, it's Monday. That was a long question. I hope he heard it.
Yeah, that was a long question.
But do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Of course, and it's a good question. And I heard even officers complaining that they don't work as a team with other agencies. And that's a big problem.
No, it's a big problem. And I'll tell you, it's even more than that.
And
they can't communicate.
And I tell you, beyond it's a budget problem, I think also is, it's no more respect for law enforcement. So they also not applying to become a law enforcement, to become an officer. So there's like no respect, and now they're like more in danger than before. So there's a lot of things going on that is go beyond the lack of a budget.
Yeah, I'm sure morale is terrible, and it's a tough job to begin with. What young man or woman who's raising a family wants to go into a career that they're constantly under attack and not supported? I don't know that many people that would want to do that. And I think what Mark was talking about, the same problems that we have in the city of Houston. Morale in the law enforcement agencies is low because in many cases they will arrest and bring charges to the district attorney, and as Mark mentioned, they'll dismiss those. They won't prosecute them, and many times before the peace officer, the law enforcement officer finishing the paperwork, the suspects are back out on the streets. And so, I guess they shrug their shoulders and say, why?
Okay, I'm getting a text from the people that works in Mark's campaign, and it said that for whatever reason, the link it didn't work anymore for him.
Okay.
So he tried to go back, and the link didn't work.
Well, that's fine. That's
So
fine. So,
yeah,
uh,
so we can move to
well,
our
and we're
next.
going to have Mark back before.
Yeah.
But and the next time we bring him back, I want to ask him that specific question because my contention is there's plenty of peace officers in this county and in Bexar County. And so why can't we do mutual aid agreements to help each other? So anyway, I think you have the results of a very exciting poll that you saw, and I haven't had a chance to look at it. So tell us a little
No,
bit
but
about it.
I want our next guest to explain that poll. So I'm gonna introduce her because we were supposed to have her last week, and she got a little bit of sick. But this week she's with us, and I'm very excited to have her because she's not only a part of the new platform, the conservative platform, Americano Media, but she's also an immigration attorney, and she's over there in Florida. So her name is Maria Herrera Mellado, and she's also the president of the Republican National Hispanic Assembly of Miami-Dade County, Florida. They have 27 chapters. So Maria, welcome to TLC. Bienvenida a TLC. And Maria, she speaks like 4 languages and very well involved in the immigration laws. And she was having a meeting yesterday that I want her to talk also about that. She was having a meeting with Maria Elvira Salazar yesterday, which is the congresswoman for Florida 27 congressional district. And Maria Elvira Salazar also has something very similar of what you present in 2018 or 2019, I guess.
Yeah, about 2018, yeah.
That it was like a immigration proposal, and it's called Family Stabilization Act. So that's why I want to bring Maria Herrera today to talk about what the meeting that she had yesterday, what is her contribution to what is going on over there with Maria Elvira Salazar, but also to give us the point of view of what we propose here in Texas.
And let me explain to Maria before she comes on that Maria, I'm an immigrant. I immigrated here in 1962. I've lived in Texas all of my life, so I know Texas pretty well. And we have a huge congressional delegation. And so, both of our senators and our congressional delegation know the immigration problems because Texas, unlike any other state, has the largest border with Mexico. And the immigration issue, the illegal immigration, the unauthorized entry into the United States is causing a big problem, not only for our border communities, but with respect to the crime and the pressure on our education, public education systems. And our third largest school district is the Houston Independent School District. And about 75% of those young kids are Hispanic, and many of them are language deficient. And so it puts a lot of pressure on the taxpayer. We also have a major charity hospital, actually 2 of them. And so a lot of the undocumented, unauthorized aliens, and when there's a medical emergency, go to the emergency room. So what the pressures are on the taxpayer. But I've been frustrated for years because both the Republicans and the Democrats talk about immigration. They identify the problems keenly, but yet they do nothing. I mean, the Democrats will put up these crazy proposals that they know the Republicans will never support. And then the Republicans, they haven't done anything since 1986. That was the last significant change to the immigration policy in this country. So back in 2018, I proposed what we call family stabilization, which was for immigrants that have families in the United States and have never violated the penal code, let them apply for a legal status every 5 years, renewable every 5 years, as long as they don't violate the penal code. There's no pathway to citizenship because they entered without authorization, and but they can remain here as long as they remain as crime-free, where they're contributing to the society. And we called it family stabilization. And by the way, the immigrants would pay all the fees associated with the processing, that is fingerprinting, the photographs, the application process, the background checks. And, we put it out there in 2018. Nobody bid on it. And so when Andrea told me about the congresswoman in Florida, it almost mirrors the policy that we've been promoting. So we're excited that you're on. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, are you? I don't know if you
Is
can
she
you
muted
hear
or
us?
did we mute her? Well, we can't hear. We can't hear you.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what happened today with the link. Something is going on with the link.
Today is Monday. Not really, but you know.
Can you guys hear
Here
me?
we go.
Okay, we can
got
hear
her.
you.
We
We
got
can
her.
hear you.
Okay,
Good.
perfect. Thank you. So first of all, I was saying thank you so much, Orlando and Andrea, for having me in the show. I've been following you guys, and you doing an excellent job. I love, the people you're interviewing. The previous invitee was amazing. What he's saying is so true. And here in Florida, we're suffering the same kind of trouble problems. Yesterday, I was at the round table with Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar. I agree with you, Orlando. Her proposal is very similar. However, she included a path to citizenship. That is going to be resisted by Republicans. I told her so. I'm an immigration attorney. I'm licensed in 6 states, one of them being Texas. I am in Texas very often. I have litigated in El Paso, Houston, Dallas, so I know what's going on. And basically, what we're seeing today is the worst immigration and humanitarian crisis since the inception, since the existence of the Department of Homeland Security. This administration has created this chaos. It's giving no chance to immigrants by coming here and not being even able to go through a credible fear interview. That's the latest. I was shocked. I got clients here who tell me they didn't even get referred to a judge, to a DHS agent. And I think that's outrageous because here in Miami, we know very well what happened to those Cubans who the real, asylees who have come to the United States because they were persecuted, and they have encountered here in the United States the same people that persecuted them, that punished them, that incarcerated them in back in Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua. So we're clearly denouncing that. I told Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar that in order for anybody in this country to negotiate an amnesty, a path to citizenship, we have to secure the border. There is no further negotiation. If we don't secure our borders, if we don't increase the amount of judges, if we don't support our law enforcement, CBP, DHS, there is nothing to talk about. That is my personal position. That is my experience telling me that I agree with the gentleman who was in your show before, that there is a war on law enforcement, not only on the policemen, but also on CBP, who are, by the way, the people who save the most life in the Sonora Desert. I graduated from the University of Arizona in Tucson. I participated in the clinic fighting against human trafficking, and I can tell you that's exactly what's going on. People don't know what they're talking about, and I think Hispanic Americans will set an example. This is what I said yesterday. If we take the streets of this nation and we send a message, there is no negotiation going on unless we secure our borders. We came here for prosperity, for a better life, and we should be united that this country needs to remain safe.
Yeah, Maria, one of the back in when George W. Bush, the former governor of Texas, became president of the United States, and prior to 9/11, he actually had an idea of an immigration reform which included a pathway to citizenship. I remember distinctly telling the Republican leadership, and I think to Karl Rove, that anything that had a pathway to citizenship was dead on arrival among Republican grassroots and the Republican base. Why? Because in 1986, Ronald Reagan signed the Immigration Reform Adjustment Act and promised us that the border would be secure and that the flow of undocumented aliens would stop. That was 1986. It's only gotten worse. And so conservatives are never going to agree to a pathway to citizenship unless the border is completely sealed. And by the way, we did a poll in Texas in the 5 largest counties among Republican primary voters. And we polled the question, would you support an immigration reform that was exactly what I outlined, giving the undocumented, non-criminal families an opportunity to apply for a permit that allowed them to work every 5 years, renewable as long as they didn't violate the penal code, And about 67% of Republican primary voters supported that. But when you put in a pathway to citizenship for those that have entered the country unauthorized and uninspected, it plummets. And so, I'm disappointed to hear that there's a pathway to citizenship. I know that's what the liberal left wants because they believe that that's the future voters. But I just don't think it passes among conservatives in this country.
Unfortunately, that's a reality and it's completely justified. Not only that, people don't understand that the United States has one of the most generous immigration systems, that you are able to adjust status even though you overstay your visa, even though you enter illegal. There are so many waivers in this immigration law that we see officers applying every other day. There is the Cuban Adjustment Act. I mean, how many more chances can we give the people? I understand we would love for dreamers to have a path to citizenship, for TPS holder, for our agricultural workers, but the reality is that there are many alternatives to adjust your status. You can get married, you can get a job offer, you can ask for a waiver in the United States. Those are even executive orders passed by Obama administration. So those waivers, those alternatives are in place. The problem in the immigrant community, the problem in this nation is that people don't understand how immigration law works. Not only the immigration law, but the policies, the memorandums, and the first person and the first officials who have no idea how the immigration works are the Biden administration. We saw how a judge ruled against the extending discretionary powers within the DHS. We need to understand that in order for this country to come together, we need to educate people because there are million immigrants out there who could apply for adjustment of status, who could get paperwork. But you know what happened, Orlando and Andrea? That they turn into fake notary publics. They fake into, fake immigration attorneys. And they just decided to pay $200 to have someone to fill out their asylum claims. And that sends the wrong message because for our audiences, for your audience, they need to know that over 71% of asylum claims get denied because people file the wrong document, they fill out the wrong information, and they commit fraud. So how can we improve this nation and help the immigrant community by giving them the right information, by giving them proper advice, but not falling by this Democrat proposal that just tell you that by, and I agree with you, that just by giving papers to 11 million immigrants, we're going to solve the problem. This is never going to be the solution because you're going to attract 20 more million immigrants to our borders.
Correct.
Maria, I want to ask you something because we're being here in Texas facing this border crisis since the new administration took place. And, we're being talking about like immigration reform, trying to fix this problem with the people that it was already here, illegal in this country. So how bad it make this situation worse, having the border crisis after this administration took place?
Horrible, because just like Orlando was saying, there is not going to be an agreement. There is not going to be a bipartisan agreement right now. I will not even, vote in favor of, passing any reform unless we secure the border. There is some estimate that by spring 2022, there's going to be an increase of 40% of arrivals at our southern border. Let's not mention that now we are in Ukraine and that maybe, not maybe, we have seen more Russians coming through our borders. We have the TPS for Ukrainians. We're going to have all kinds of refugees. We heard the news that in Europe, they're already masking people back. So this is crazy. And the latest of this administration is trying to persuade the CDC to remove and erase Chapter 42, which prevents people from coming because we're living still under the pandemic. So whether you want to believe it or not, that's the reality. And what is the justification for removing Chapter 42, for allowing kids without their parents, because 70% of their kids come without an adult, come here and come to this country and not be able to reunify with their families. What we're living is a total disaster. As an immigration attorney practicing, as I told you, in 6 different states, it's horrible what we're doing to this immigrant community because they have no chance. They come here. I'm going to tell you something, Andrea. They come here, they don't get referred to a judge. When they come here, they don't get to see ICE for years. They cannot get their paperwork. The only thing we're setting them up is for food stamp, Medicaid, and a path to work illegally and be in the shadows. So we are basically perpetuating human trafficking, human smuggling, and this is a job that we need to do together. District attorneys, DHS, whatever administration is in the White House, we need to combat these horrible tragedies, human trafficking, human smuggling. I want to refer to your audience to an interview I did to President Alejandro Gianmatei from Guatemala. Last week, I got him on my show, La Politica, and I asked him, President, what do you think about the current border crisis? What has the U.S. done for Guatemala to stop these caravans and these human traffickers? And he said, nothing, Maria. We haven't received a single dollar to stop the caravans. Not only that, they haven't even asked us to stop these flows of migrants. We have incarcerated people. We have even sent back Cubans. We don't feel comfortable with that, but we have been sending back Cubans, Venezuela, who claims they were persecuted because we cannot accept the amount of immigrants coming through our borders. Not only that, Andrea, but they passed a federal law to, persecute and incarcerate coyotes. And they beg this administration, please do the same. Don't get us involved in this human trafficking scheme. And the answer from Kamala Harris, he said it, I'm going to send you the interview, is no. They don't want to do anything. They are participating in this absolute tragedy.
Mira, I want to tell you something because, one of the wonderful things about not holding public office is that you can speak your mind. And I'm going to tell you, to use a word in Spanish, the whole immigration system es un desprestigio en este país.
Así,
I mean,
un
it is,
desastre.
and Maria's absolutely correct. It's a modern day importation of cheap labor that borders on slavery because, as she correctly says, it doesn't give a huge swath of the immigrants an opportunity to have a hearing, to state their case, and it just creates millions of people that are, we call it in the shadows, but are living in fear of family separation, of deportation, of detention. And I think it's a modern day racist importation. And I'm telling you, another thing, the American people get mad at the immigrant. And I tell everybody, I'm an immigrant. My father brought me to this country escaping communism. The people leaving Guatemala and the people leaving El Salvador and the people leaving Nicaragua are doing what is naturally God-given human instinct, is to survive and to provide for their family. Mm-hmm. And so they know their only chance is to go north because we have a very weak immigration system. But I tell you, the problem is not the immigrant. Don't dislike the immigrant for trying to survive. Your distaste, your dislike, your anger should be directed towards the U.S. Congress, to whom you write a big check every April 15th to fund the federal government to enforce the laws, and they do nothing. It's been 40 years since they have had a serious address of the immigration system. It's not the immigrant. It is the Congress and the federal government that are co-conspirators in what Maria has correctly identified, the continuous importation of cheap labor in this country. Because here's what I'm going to say, Maria. If you really wanted to stop illegal immigration in this country, you should arrest the CEOs of hotel chains that employ maids. You should arrest the CEOs of Cargill and major agricultural operations that use immigrant labor. You should go and arrest meatpacking plant CEOs who use immigrant labor to slaughter and package the meat. How about construction companies that use cheap labor? That'll end immigration. When those CEOs and board of directors do the perp walk, illegal immigration will stop mañana. But there is no will in this country because we have an insatiable appetite for cheap labor, and we have a Congress that will not address that because they're afraid of corporate America.
Maria, you mute yourself.
Okay, we can't hear her again. But
No te podemos escuchar.
I hope she heard that, because when she comes back, I want to hear her comment on that. I mean, I think it's a bit rough, but you got to call it what it is. The American people are tired of paying taxes to Congress to enact the laws. And I mean, not only does Congress doesn't
have
do
her
their
back?
job.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Maria, did you hear my
Can you hear
editorial
me?
comment?
Yes, and I totally agree with you, Orlando. First of all, I think the Democrats are encouraging and creating this racism against immigrants. They are the ones. Why? Because if you
Yeah, we keep losing her.
Te volviste a...
Yeah. We got technical issues today, but that's okay. Maybe she'll
That's
she'll
what
come
happened when
back.
it's live. It's a live show.
Yeah. But, and not only that, I want to make my final comment before I slip out, Andrea. Not only is it at the federal level that's bad, but you know full well that our local sheriff was being considered as the head of immigration and
Correct.
services in the United States.
We have her.
He did not get. So, Maria, if you're back, I want you to
okay,
listen to this, and then I'll let you finish out the comment. It's gotten so bad, Maria, that the Harris County Sheriff was nominated by the Biden administration to head up immigration services. His nomination lingered for about a year and a half, and ultimately it was withdrawn a couple of weeks ago, so he's not going to become the head. But here's the funny thing. They nominated a man that will not allow 287G in the third largest county jail. That means that they will not allow ICE agents to screen criminals that have been detained and arrested and turn them over to DHS after they're adjudicated so they can be held for deportation. How the hell does that happen?
well, they try to eliminate el programa Comunidades Seguras, Secure Communities, which is exactly what, the previous invitee was talking about. That is, an alliance between the sheriff's office and the DHS. That's crucial. That is what I told Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar. We need that. You don't want, I mean, they don't like Trump, but the reality is like what he said is exactly what people think. You don't want rapists, you don't want criminals, you don't want pedophiles in your communities. How do you stop that? How do you stop criminals? By letting the sheriff office and the police communicate and cooperate with DHS. So when the person is, released on a bond or the person has paid for their criminal penalties or sentence, the DHS pick them up and continue, processing them and escort them out of this country. That is very important. But going back to my point, Orlando and Andrea, I think what the Democrats don't understand and what even the Republican needs to understand, and the message needs to be out there, is that they are creating hatred against immigrants. Because in any country, if even in your home, if a person comes here, knock on your door and say, "I'm hungry, I need help," you welcome them. But if you have another person, a conspirator, helping you out, sneak people in your home, and thousands, we're talking about 140,000 people at the border just in the month of January, the worst number, the highest number since the inception of DHS. People hate it. People are scared. People don't know what to do. And as you pointed out at the beginning, Orlando, what is causing us? Here in Florida, Governor Ron DeSantis ran the number and say the problem is that the left says that immigrants help the economy, that they are, they pay taxes, but it's not enough because the amount of money we're paying for the elementary school to undocumented immigrants is not, it doesn't outweigh the cost of, legal or illegal immigration. So that's the point. And my last point is that even though we have the E-Verify program, I agree with you, Orlando. Employers don't respect anything. People without papers continue to work. Here in Miami Beach, you can see that's slavery, that's human trafficking, and those are the people who needs to face reality. In Europe, we do. Employers are scared to hire immigrants, and we need to talk about that.
But not only that they continue hiring illegal immigrants, but now it's a big challenge, Maria, because we're seeing that every single business is complaining about not finding enough employees. So that we have an employment crisis also. So what did they do if people that are legal in this country after the pandemic, they don't want to work? So what is their choices for them? So it's a very challenged time that we're living right now, with the crisis on immigration, with the crisis on employment, with the crisis of after pandemic, that people are still trying to adjust. Many people, I've been talking to a lot of business owners and a lot of people that used to work for other companies, that after the pandemic, it changed the game for them, and they don't want to go back to work. They want to work less hours, less days. They don't want to work Fridays and sometimes not even Mondays. So it's a big challenge in all levels.
Of course, Andrea, because this administration create the perfect scheme and the perfect environment for people not to work. They send people home, they scare people, they told them you're gonna die, you have to mask, you have to get vaccinated. I don't care about your health. You need to get vaccinated, otherwise you're not coming back. On top of that, we're gonna send you state unemployment money and federal unemployment salaries. So it's absolutely deplorable. This is what we're living, and the situation is not going to change. As a matter of fact, we see in California, they also created reparations, for people. They want to do the same for African Americans. They want to do the same for Hispanic. We're not victims. We are not victims. Cuban Americans come here, and after a year and a day, when they get their paperwork, Andrea, they work for the biggest companies in the nation. So the message has to be clear from the Hispanic community, from the immigrant community. We come here to prosper. We don't want your pity. We want documents. We want to be able to come here legal. Open up the consulate, hire more judges, hire more DHS officers, hire more consulate staff, and we will come here legally. Nobody, as a matter of fact, I was going to mention this in the latest Ipsos survey and in our survey in Americano Media.
Yeah, I
Immigration
was
is
going to go
number
to that
8
point now after
topic.
this, because that's the reason of the result of the poll that you are going to talk about now.
Yes, Andrea. So there are a lot of surveys going on, but the latest was our poll. 1,500 Hispanic American responded. What is your number one concern? They don't say immigration. Number one concern, the economy, then the pandemic, then all these things. So immigration is the topic number 8. So what the left is selling, what the media is selling, is that immigration is the topic that divides us the most. That the immigrant community, that the American, the immigrants, the Hispanic Americans, the U.S. citizens are concerned about immigration. That is not even true. But the thing is, like, they sell it like it is. If you ask people, hey, what is your number one concern? They tell you the economy. But when you go through that survey and that poll, I asked your audience to check, how it's clear that the media, the media plants those ideas into everyone's head. So they are concerned. Number one concern, Russia. Well, Russia is not a threat. It's China. What about critical theory, racism, all this stuff? It's really sad what we're seeing. That's why we also launched the first Spanish, National Conservative Network. I know that you have Willie Laura, the vice president, last week, but I'm going to tell you something. Programs like yours, networks like us, radio shows, it's so important because we are sending the wrong message. We're telling people that they need to live scared, that they don't have to work, that this country will pay for everybody, and that we will not become a communist country. As a matter of fact, and as the Venezuelan American community clearly says, it's not that we will not, it's that we are living under socialism in this nation, a system that has been
Yeah.
rejected by the majority of Hispanic Americans, and a system that has set Venezuela into the poorest nations in the world, even though they're number second, oil producers. So it's really scary what we're living.
Totally, I totally agree with you. So tell us the results of this poll, because I was reading on the Hill paper that more Hispanic Democrats in new poll considering leaving party than Hispanics Republicans. And we've been seeing this since the midterms elections, that a lot of Hispanics want to vote conservatives more than people. The media is being telling us or make us believe that it's Hispanic equal Democrats, and that's not true.
That is not true. So basically, what the poll is confirming is previous polls done by Wall Street Journal, by the RNC, saying that first of all, Hispanics identify themselves as Hispanic, not even Latinos, not even Latinx, just as Hispanic. That's the majority, overwhelming majority. Second of all, is that they are willing to leave the Democratic Party because the policies they are advocating for, they recognize as socialist policies, policies that they reject, they don't want anything to do about. Okay. Also, they are talking about even after Trump is left the White House, 20% of Hispanics are willing and happy to go to bring back Donald Trump. Why? Because if we remember, the unemployment levels were so low with Donald Trump. Hispanics were prospering, people were happy, people were saving money. So that's also an important, an important takeaway from this poll. And as you can see, this confirms that people are very, very unhappy with Joe Biden. The support for Joe Biden, Kamala Harris is at all-time low. People don't like it. They think their policy have created this chaos, not only at the border, but the inflation, the foreign affairs. That I mean, they are so disappointed that we abandoned our soldiers in Afghanistan, that we left all the arms and artillery. So I will encourage your audience to take a look at that and take a look what the major newspapers are saying. Hispanics are turning to the GOP and are becoming conservatives because they are scared. They are scared that their kids are being indoctrinated. They are scared that this country is not safe anymore. And they're scared that they cannot even pay at the end of the month their basic rent, utilities, and maybe education.
And I don't think they're becoming conservatives. They always been conservatives. They just realizing they are conservatives because
Of course,
we're being
Andrea.
brainwashed by the media. The media 10, 15 years ago is not the same media that we've been living these days. And I'm so happy that Americano Media launched last week or 2 weeks ago. And I wanted the last minutes that we have in the show before we go off the air. I wanted you talk about Americano Media because last week we have Willie Lora, which is I love him. He's been my friend for many years, but unfortunately we had bad audio with him. So I wanted you to talk about Americano Media, where we can find Americano Media, how we can listen it, and also where we can find this poll, because this is very important for people to find out these elements that you guys been working on it.
Absolutely. So Americano Media launched a couple of weeks ago. We are in Sirius XM channel 153. You can also download the application Americano Media. You can also check the website americanomedia.com. We have 18 hours of original content in Spanish, and the programs are amazing. We have great hosts, not only in the United States, in the state of California, Texas, Florida, Virginia, Washington, D.C., but we have hosts and analysts in Argentina, Portugal, Spain, Honduras, El Salvador, Colombia, you name it. It's amazing. The level of support, the enthusiasm that this new channel, this new network has created. It's amazing. You can find the poll, the result. You can see the latest article of Americano Media in The Hill, in NBC. You can find the poll in our website. And I'm telling you, we need to work with your organization as well, Andrea, because we want to interview people. We want to help also for you to achieve your goals. We need to be united, and I think we stand together to secure our border, to create more prosperity, and to defend socialist policies.
Yes, please. I mean, we would delight to be on your show talking about, especially about immigration, the topic that, I mean, this is a hot topic and it's impact everybody, immigrants and no immigrants in this country. It's very important to keep talking about that. And I don't know how far is Maria Elvira Salazar proposal, but we need to get together with her and you to bring effort and to bring ideas, the Family Stabilization Act and also her proposal, and come up with something that it will be possible for this country and for all immigrants and non-immigrants. Just this country, the country that we live. And I am from Colombia, but I love this country as much as I love my own country, because this is the land of opportunities. But we're seeing what is happening, that, as you're saying, it's not that we're going to socialism, we are living already. That we were like running away from our countries. We cannot see and we cannot allow this in this country. So thank you so much for what you've been doing. Y hablemos el último minuto en español para que promuevas Americano Media en español también.
Magnífico. Pues Americano Media es el primer canal conservador nacional completamente en español, con sede en los Estados Unidos, pero con presentadores y analistas políticos en muchísimos países, desde Portugal, España, Argentina, Colombia, Perú. En fin, estamos muy orgullosos de lo que estamos haciendo. Pueden descargarse nuestra aplicación en Americano Media, en sus teléfonos. También pueden ir a la página web americanomedia.com y, por supuesto, nos pueden encontrar en la radio, en SiriusXM, canal 153. Son bienvenidos. Necesitamos el apoyo de millones de hispanoamericanos, de millones de hispanos que quieren que conozcamos qué es lo que está pasando en materia educativa, en política exterior, en inmigración. Necesitamos unirnos para defender los Estados Unidos y a la vez defender al mundo libre. Muchísimas gracias, Andrea, ha sido un placer y estoy de vuelta cuando vosotros lo determinéis.
Claro que sí, te vamos a volver a invitar, María. Muchísimas gracias por tu tiempo y estamos pendientes con todo esto que está pasando con inmigración. Nos vemos pronto.
Nos vemos pronto. Gracias.
Ciao, ciao. And thank you so much for watching us today. Please also visit us in TexasLatinoConservatives.com, TexasLatinoConservatives.com. Remember that we have our next event in San Antonio, the Top Tejano Awards. It's going to be April 5th. If you haven't get into yet, please go to the link and buy a table or buy just to get in with single person, with couples, whatever you want to do, but please go and support us over there. We're going to have Governor Greg Abbott in that event. It's going to be a launch in San Antonio. So just go to TexasLatinoConservatives.com and you're going to see all the information about not only that event, but the upcoming events. And remember, the runoff on the primaries is going to be May 24th. Los veo el próximo miércoles. Chao, chao.